The concept of this house, not designed as a conventional house. When you think of house, you think of a structure which is, enveloping you like a cocoon for you. This is not that. This is conceived as a set of pavilions to enjoy its setting. So from season to season, everything around this changes. And we emphasize, we exaggerate this change. When the summer rains start, it becomes a wetland on that side of the house. Slowly the water plants start emerging. As the water fills up, the next set of water plants, the floating water plants start coming up. And from around mid-May to November, that side is a lake. At the end of the rainy season, the opposite happens. The water level starts dropping, the grass comes back, and slowly, the water plants die out, and it goes back to being a lawn like you see it now. And the house, it's watching all this. Real landscape architecture is when you put in place a system. You're creating something that works. You're creating a system that carries away the water, that funnels in the breeze, that creates shade where you want it. That is one part of it. You're actually setting in place a choreography. The landscape of this is very extraordinary. It's not a traditional ornamental landscape. We have gone into the cultural history and the natural history of this site. So one part of this is a restoration, where we've gone back and we've thought about what kind of vegetation would have been here if there were never any people here. What would it have looked like? This is impossible to know, and we can't do it exactly like that. So we do a little bit of interpretation. How do we imagine it? What would we have wanted to see here? This is artistic license that we take with that. This house is designed as a series of pavilions to address its landscape. That concept is also expressed in its form. If you got into a helicopter and went up, you could see that each of the individual spaces of this house is designed like a pavilion with its own roof. You notice in a lot of places in this house, there is no roof. It's just kept open to the sky wherever possible. And where it was impossible to keep it open because it'll just get too hot, we've consciously placed a gridded solar panel on top. The intention is that when you're inside, you should know whether it's day or night, or if it's the mid-afternoon, you should feel some of the heat of the afternoon. It's like I put down volumes. Each room is its own volume with its own roof, and then stitch the whole thing together with connecting spaces. And what are these connecting spaces? There are two major connecting spaces. One is the public connecting space. We call it the Nadapandal. And the Nadapandal stitches together all of the public areas of the house. It's an outdoor space bounded by indoor spaces. Now, parallel to the Nadapandal, there is a spine inside the house. That is an indoor space bounded by outdoor spaces. Private spine or the family spine. And as to the forms, again, there are cultural references here. I didn't want to go for the traditional, the Kerala roof, because that's not what this is. This house is not a traditional house. And I don't want any part in suggesting that, okay, that's what we are trying to do. But I would still like to refer back to the traditions of home building in Kerala, which is why we kept the sloping roofs, we've kept the verandas. If you can see, there's a wraparound veranda right here. It is just interpreted from a very contemporary standpoint. It's a veranda that wraps around. It has a climatological function as well as a sociological function. When I first met him, he talked to me about the green belt for his quarry, about rehabilitating all the spent areas of the quarry. So I knew that inside him there was the underlying desire to go green. But of course he expressed it in the way that he understood, in the way that he was used to. He never thought I'll use his house to do it. The reference to the natural environment is this restoration that we are doing. The restoration will continue into the land of the quarry. So the quarry will have its buffer. There is a whole green plan for the quarry, both for now, while the quarry is functioning, and as each stage of the quarry gets decommissioned, we will put in a restoration in that part. So when we leave this site, maybe 50 years from now, I might not be here. Hopefully my restoration plan will continue into that and we will leave it as a forest. So this is the long-term plan.